All right, I woke up this morning at 4:30 like I always do. The older I get, the harder it is to sleep late. I don't know why that is. But I checked the current conditions. Air temp was 60 degrees, hard overcast, actually pretty calm. I said, you know what? It's time to go sac-a-lait fishing. Perfect conditions. So I came and launched on the river near my house, maybe a 10-minute truck ride, really even less than that, 8 minutes from my house. Super easy place to get to. It's not a terribly easy place to fish, but it does hold some sac-a-lait. We call them sac-a-lait. If you're watching from anywhere else in the country, you probably call them crappie. But it's just that time of year, mid-March, spring, lots of pollen in the air, flowers everywhere. All the azaleas are blooming here locally. It just really feels right today. So I'm gonna head out here and see what I can find. You know, it's my favorite fish to eat. How could it not be? It's probably yours as well if you've ever had them. So I definitely like our chances today. Come along with me. Let's see what we can catch. All right, first things first is gear. I got an ultralight rod loaded with 4-pound test. I'm gonna be throwing this Slab Hunter minnow on a 16th ounce micro jig. The plan is just to throw this, cast and retrieve, kind of close to the bottom, adjacent to cypress trees. That's it. Let's see what we can do. All right, great news. We did not get a fish on the first cast. So we won't have the first cast curse. This Slab Hunter minnow has not failed me yet this year. It's been super productive. But I did bring another bait, a new bait that I haven't fished yet, that I'm gonna give a try if this doesn't work. And you know, sac-a-lait are super finicky. Like, they want what they want and they don't want what they don't want. And it's up to you to figure out what it is they want. That's what makes them fun to target. That and the fact that you get to eat them, because they are delicious. And if I catch a few of them, I'm going to show you the way, one way I like to prepare them. I'm always experimenting with new ways to cook fish, because I catch so much fish. It's a big part of our diet. We may not catch anything in here, but man, doesn't this look good? Looks like there should be some fish here. It's a prison of cypress trees. Now, this technique has grown to be my favorite, not only because it's so productive, but also because it's just so much fun. Oh, there's one. There's one. All right, first fish of the day. When these fish hit, they smack it. This isn't a giant one, but he's big enough to keep. Definite black crappie. Just such a fun technique. I love it. The water temp, in case you're wondering, is 67. These fish should definitely be up spawning, no doubt. With these mild nights, mild water temps, middle of March, all the ingredients. Oh, there's a snag. Snags are part of the deal with this. If you're not getting snagged, you're not getting bit. Oh, there we go. That's a good hit. Stay on, big boy. Oh, that's a good one. Stay on, big boy. Please stay on. All right. That's a good fish. There we go. That's a good one. He was right on that cypress tree right there. Whoo, look at that. Came right out, came right out. And there goes a Canada goose. Man, when I was a kid, no Canada geese in Louisiana. Now they're absolutely everywhere. Weird. That fish hit that bait so hard. It's just amazing you can feel them that well with 4-pound test. And it's mono, so it's super stretchy. Just crazy. It really is similar to jigging for speckled trout. You get that hard thump. Not always. Sometimes fish just load up, of course. But often, man, it's just a shock wave up the line. That's why I love this technique. And retrieve speed varies. You want the bait about halfway down the water column. So as you get closer to the boat, you got to drop your rod and slow down a bit. Obviously, close to the bank, it's a lot shallower. You can maintain a faster retrieve speed. You definitely want to make sure you don't retrieve too slowly. Sockeye have a tendency to feed up, so you don't want to fish under them. Although I have had situations where you had to bump the bait along the bottom, and I've had that situation this year. Ooh, found a snag. So you really got to try everything. Oh, there's one. Oh, there you go. Stay on. Stay on. All right, another nice one. Really nice one. The target species. I love these guys. Whoo. Look at that. Look at that. Goodness. Good thing we kept pressure on him. We would have lost him. That was about my 4th cast in there. Let's see if he got his buddies fired up. Typically not. When I fish this technique, it's usually one and done. I usually don't load up. Oh, that was a bump. That was a bump. All right, let's see if we can get another one. Oh, something ate my tail. That's no good. That was probably a brim. I got to change that bait, but while I'm here, let me make a few more casts. But that's really what I love about this bait, is that tail. The action of that tail. It looks so good in the pool. There's another one, same spot. All right. Whew, he took it deeper. That's good to see. That's a good sign. Obviously a few fish right there. I could hardly even get that dude unhooked. All right, I got a new Slab Hunter minnow on there. Let's see if it brings us as good luck as the last one did. Before he lost his tail. Actually, caught a fish on it without the tail. I've been making some casts off the drop-off because I've caught them there before, particularly when they're staging. And they could be staging really at any time in the spring. Obviously, the earlier you are in the spring, the more likely they are to be staging. But even now, there are fish waiting to spawn, even though certainly there are fish uptight spawning. But so far, I haven't gotten any fish off that drop-off. Everything's been uptight. And you see, sometimes you have no choice. Like right now, there's a bunch of lily pads blocking. I would love to fish all that, but I really can't. So I just kind of fish on the outside of it, hoping to catch a staging fish. There's a lot of this alligator grass as well. It's really thrived this year on this river. It's everywhere. Ultimately a good thing. Definitely helps fish populations. It can make fishing a little bit more challenging, or at least a style of fishing. And this is not a technique, at least on this river, where I expect to catch 100 of these fish. You know, my upper expectation is maybe 20, 25. I hope to catch at least 8 or 10. It's just so much fun, so relaxing. Obviously incredible scenery, super peaceful. Air temps are right now probably about 70. Just a very pleasant day. A great day to be outside. Got a lot of these this time of year. And of course, all these trees provide you some protection from the wind. I don't know if you can see the trees up there, but the wind's blowing really hard right now, but you can't tell it in here. It looks like it's slick as glass. It's definitely pushing me along in this canal. Here, the surface level, it's not too bad. Now, believe me, if you've got a productive sockeye fishery close to you, and you use this technique, I'm sure you could catch 50 or 100 and have an absolute blast doing it. But even with the fish I've got now, I've got enough to show you my recipe, show you my cooking technique. And this is one you're definitely going to want to do. I'm all about simple techniques that produce dishes that taste like you spent hours cooking them. And this is definitely one of those. Oh goodness, I got smoked. Don't know how I missed him. How could he hit that hard and not get the bait? But he did. He clearly did. All right, although I love that Slab Hunter minnow, I feel like I got to keep the fish honest, so I'll make a few casts with this bait. It's a Mojo tackle bait. I don't even know what it's called. The manufacturer sent me some. But it's a curl tail bait, white and chartreuse. I kind of prefer black and chartreuse, but we're gonna make a few casts. Doesn't hurt to make a few casts, right? Well, let's see how this thing looks in the water. All right, looks really good. Great action on that curl tail. Or at least, looks like great action to me. Let's see what the fish think. I gotta imagine this thing's gonna fall a good bit slower. So I'm gonna have to probably slow down my pace. Man, I'm impressed. This bait looks really good. Some of the curl tails that I threw in my Bobby Garland pool test did not look good. And actually the one that looked the best, the hyper grub, I think it's called a hyper grub, I fished and couldn't get a bite on it. Could not get a bite on it. Switched to that Slab Hunter minnow and almost immediately started catching fish. Now, was it a color deal? Who knows? Definitely sac-a-lait are very color sensitive, no question about that. More so than probably any fish. If you don't throw the color they want that day, you're not gonna get bit. In general, for this area that I fish, I'm a big fan of black and chartreuse. Couldn't really call it Slab Hunter minnow chartreuse, it's really more yellow, kind of like Pittsburgh Steeler colors. But it's close enough. This thing has such good tail movement, I can actually feel it in the rod. Pretty impressive. And as I told you in my pool test, my bias is always toward action. And I know not everybody is the same way. Some people want to, well, that's a good cast. Some people want to bait with little action. I get it. I get it. Fishing after a cold front or something like that, probably that's the case. But this technique, on the days that I fish, I want a tail that's going to wiggle some. All right, this is one you got to be careful on. I got snagged right up under this cypress tree. Not sure what I'm snagged on, but you got to look above for snakes or wasps, both of which could be out this time of year. Unfortunately, this snag robbed me of a great cast. I got it right up under there. Ooh, I see it. It's way deep in there. Let's see if we can get it. Yep, we got it. All right, no bites at all on this Mojo tackle bait. Could be a color situation. And I have this black and gold. Let me try that one. If not, we're gonna quickly switch back to the Slab Hunter minnow. We know they want that. Slab Hunter minnow is Pittsburgh Steeler colors. This is New Orleans Saints colors, I guess appropriately, since we're fishing in South Louisiana. All right, as an old saying, you should dance with who brung you. The Slab Hunter minnow brung me to this dance, so that's what I'm gonna go back to. I know they'll hit that. The issue with this bait is not the action. I think it's the buoyancy. I only got a 16th ounce jig head. I wish I had a 3/32. I just don't have one. Something to get this bait down a little bit more. It just rides too high in the water column. So I'm gonna go back to that Slab Hunter minnow and see what I can do. Oh, there's a good hit. Oh, that's a big slab. That's a big one. All right. That's a good fish. Look at that. Glad to have this one. Slab Hunter minnow. Glad I went back to it. This one's gonna be tasty. Heavy fish, man. Out in the middle of this little cypress flat. Probably, definitely spawning in here. Probably, definitely. That makes sense. That would be my guess. He or she, we'll know later, was probably spawning in here. Again, these hits, I mean, you just got to experience it. You just got to do it and experience it. It's indescribable. Crappie are savages, no doubt. They are savages. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and call it a morning. It's very nice living so close to a place where you can come and do this. It's just good for the soul. So relaxing, so fun. Feeling these fish hit, I mean, like a ton of bricks. And obviously anticipating the meal you're gonna have when you get to eat them. And that's what I'm doing now. Definitely getting kind of hungry. I still gotta clean these fish and I've gotta cook them. So come along with me for that. Next time you see me, I will be in my kitchen and I'm gonna show you a recipe that, believe me, you're gonna love. All right, see you in a minute. All right, that was a super fun trip, but Sac-A-Lait trips always are, particularly when they're that close to home. I mean, it's just such a convenient place for me to fish. And if you haven't tried that technique yet, you definitely gotta do it. It's productive and it's also just a whole lot more fun. All right, so now I'm gonna show you how I like to cook Sac-A-Lait, or crappie as you might call them. And actually this recipe works with a whole host of fish. So if you want to try it with speckled trout, redfish, walleye, whatever, I don't know, whatever you catch, try it with that. I promise you it's going to be good. All right, first ingredient, definitely an essential one. You know, just like we call crappie Sac-A-Lait, we call these pecans. You might call them pecans, or if you're up north, you might call them pecans or something like that. But anyway, we call them pecans. Definitely an essential ingredient. Of course, I always cook with butter, so you need some butter, you need a lemon, you need some honey, heavy whipping cream, hot sauce, and a beer. You don't necessarily need a beer. You could make do with just milk, but I'm going to show you what we're going to do with this beer in just a second. All right, first things first, though, we got to get this heavy whipping cream going because we got to reduce it. So let's do that first. All right, I'm thinking I'm going to use just about half of this. Maybe a little bit more than half, we'll see. Maybe about that much. So yeah, I'm saying it's about half of this. And this is, what is this, a pint? Yeah, this is 1 pint. Put that back in the fridge for Mrs. Marshman to put in her coffee. All right, so that's got to heat up and reduce. And while that's going on, we're gonna get some other stuff ready. Okay, right here in my Instant Pot, I've got some cabbage going. It's right around St. Patrick's Day, so cabbage is on sale. It's actually 18 cents a pound today, so I bought some. All right, I got my food processor. And we're gonna go ahead and chop up some of these pecans, or pecans, whatever you wanna call them. Not that much. All right, that's about the perfect consistency for this. We're gonna go ahead and dump these on a plate. Check on our cream, it's starting to bubble, so we're gonna turn it down a little bit. You definitely gotta monitor this because you don't want it to burn. Stir frequently. The goal is to reduce that by about 75%. So you get it to be about 25% of what it is now. All right, we're gonna mix some flour in with, I forgot to mention we need flour. Mix that in with our pecan, what do you call that? Dust, I guess? Pecan, chopped pecans, I don't know. And you want that about 1 to 1, that mixture. Also, this is something you might want to add some Cajun seasoning. If you just have salt and pepper, that'll be fine. Just add that. I use salt and pepper on fish most of the time, but I do like this Cajun seasoning with this dish. I don't know why, I just do. Just tastes really good. Want a fairly good amount of that. Mix all that up. That is going to be good. All right, our cream is bubbling. Give it a good stir. You want the temp to just kind of keep it at a light simmer. I don't know if you can see that, but that's just a light simmer. That's perfect. All right, our cream is well on its way, so we're gonna go ahead and get our fish ready. Let me get a bowl. All right, go ahead and open the beer. This is a vanilla porter, but whatever you got. Any brand, any type, whatever you got in your fridge. And if you don't have any of that, just use milk. Milk works very well for this. All we're gonna do is dip the fish in there. You dip them in the flour mixture first, then in the beer, then back in the flour mixture, and put them directly in the pan. You don't want to do them ahead of time because then the mixture all comes off. It sounds crazy. You would think it would kind of set on there, but the opposite happens. It just kind of comes off. So as soon as you dip it the second time in the flour mixture, be sure and put it right in the pan. All right, I kind of punted on an ingredient. I normally cook this in butter. I cook this fish in butter, but I'm kind of doing it in time crunch today, so I want a much hotter pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my tallow that I've been using. If you do it at home, cook it in butter, just cook it a little bit more slowly. Not too slow. Obviously, you need a hot pan, but you don't want to risk burning your butter. It's kind of a fine line. I'm gonna go ahead and do the tallow just to make sure I get it right. Okay, as I mentioned, dip a fillet in the mixture, then dip it in the beer, and then dip it again in the mixture. And I do put it on a plate just momentarily while I get enough ready for that batch in that pan. Don't let them sit more than like a minute or so. And I'll tell you what, that vanilla porter smells really good. Maybe I just should have used milk. Drank the vanilla porter. All right, we got 4 fillets done. That's probably enough for this batch. So let's go ahead and drop our tallow in. And then these yummy fillets. All right, perfect sear on these things. The pecans will get really dark, just like that. That's absolutely perfect. Now, Mrs. Marshman is wandering around somewhere around here, going in and out. She's gonna be my taste tester. I'm a taste tester as well, but I know it's gonna be delicious. Trust me, this is one you definitely wanna make at home. All right, there we go. All right, our cream is getting super close. Not quite there yet, but it's getting close. Still a little bit liquidy, but it's getting there. A whole lot thicker than it was. What happens when you reduce it, you just cook out all the moisture. So it gets a whole lot thicker. Okay, you generally want to cook half as long on the second side as you do on the first side. So these are definitely done. My cream. Come start. Is it pretty reduced?
I think so. It's now definitely a whole lot different things for it.
Okay. All right, I got Mrs. Marshman helping me stir the cream because it was starting to get a little bit ahead of me. It's very close to being ready. I got to get this last batch in the fryer here or in the pan. Oh, and I grabbed a couple of speckled trout fillets that I had just to use the rest of this mix. All right, Mrs. Marshman, who's quite a cook herself, says that that is done. I believe her. We turned it off. All right, look at the consistency of that cream. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right, our honey has gotten super thick, so I had to take the cap off. But I guess I'm adding probably about 2 tablespoons. Just add it to taste. That should be enough. Okay, we're gonna mix that up in there. All right, our consistency is absolutely perfect. We're gonna take our fish out. Last batch. We're gonna add some lemon zest. Again, not essential. Just adds a nice kind of backbeat to this. You want a little bit of acid because otherwise it could be a little bit sweet. The lemon's a nice balance, so is the hot sauce. All right, that's that. Okay, and I got this hawk sauce. That's gonna go in there. This is hot sauce that has a really good taste, not very hot. Don't want a ton. Just a few little dabs. Mix that up. Perfect, absolutely perfect. We're gonna be having a feast in just a second. Mrs. Marshman's so excited. She's not even mad that I made a mess in the kitchen. All right, so we put a couple of sac-a-lait fillets on the plate. Then we drizzle this honey cream sauce over the top, just about like that. We got some smothered cabbage we did in the Instant Pot. We'll throw that on there. All right, this is gonna be awesome.
Oh, it's amazing. Delicious.
On a 10 scale, what is it?
A 10.
All right. She wouldn't lie, particularly not about my food. All right, I'm gonna eat some myself, and I'll definitely be honest.
The coating is perfect. What did you use?
The coating is perfect. I used pecans and flour. All right, here we go. First bite. Mrs. Marshman is right. It's a 10 out of 10. It doesn't get any better. And I'll tell you this. Last time I did this, I did it with milk. Dipping the fish in milk instead of the beer. It's better with the beer. If you got a beer at home, use that instead of the milk. You can definitely taste it. It is absolutely delicious. This is phenomenal.
The coating is like really good.
Mm-hmm. This is very good.
I'm eating all this cabbage.
I don't know if it's a sacale or what, but this is like even better than usual. It is really good.
I was not lying. I mean, I normally would.
Yeah.
A 10.
I give this a 10.
It's very good.
I've never had a better meal in a restaurant. All right, make this at home. You saw how easy it is. A couple of keys. You definitely don't want your pan as hot as you would if you were just searing fish. You kind of got to bring it up to temp. You got to bring the fish up to temp a little bit slower. Not much. You do want a hot pan, but just not like if you're searing. Particularly if you use the butter. Again, that tallow is a little more forgiving, but the pecans on here, they will burn. But you do kind of want them almost on the edge of being burnt. It's a fine line, I know. You'd rather maybe a little bit under than over. That's definitely the case. But you certainly want to make this at home. And again, the first time I ever made this was with snapper, so you don't have to have sacale. But, you know, sacale makes every single fish dish better, right? Because it's just such a good tasting fish. All right, well, hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Also, subscribe to the Marshman Masson channel on YouTube. You can do that by clicking that button right there. Also, here's 2 videos YouTube thinks you'll like. Check those out if you get a chance. And until next time, if we don't see you in the marsh or here in my kitchen, we'll see you right here on Marshman Masson.